Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Anything Blows. My name is Enrique, and today I'm proud to be joined by a very special guest, a man that is set to make his professional debut on the 14th of October at the famous York Hall Arena, JP Omeara. How are you doing going into this fight? And again, a fellow West Ham fan.
Yeah, I'm doing all good, thanks. Camp's coming to an end, so just looking forward to next week.
I love to hear it. So, who do you train with? Where do you train? And who's your head coach?
So I train in Surrey, Reigate, at the boxing booth gym under Adam Martin. That's who I train with. He's my head coach.
And who will be in the corner on the night?
Adam Martin will be, and Joe Foster.
And just before we got onto the actual fight, do you think this has been the best training camp of your career so far?
Well, I feel like everyone says, "Oh, it's the best training camp they've had," but it's likewise. I train as hard. Like I'm not a person who skips here and there, so I train as hard as I can and just let the performance show.
I love to hear it 100%. So, just before we move on to October the 14th, for the fans that don't know, obviously your fans will recall and the people that came out, what exactly happened on September the 2nd? And for the people that don't know, explain us through it.
Well, so a bit of a disaster. I was meant to make my professional debut on September the 2nd at the York Hall. Weighed it, everything was fine. Both of us making a debut, so you could say on paper it was a 50-50. So both making our debuts, both weighed in, everything was fine, and then basically they pulled out on the night and literally just went home. So there was nothing we could do. We've obviously the promoters tried to do the best they can and everything, but there's not much you can do if someone drives home. So I was a bit gutted, but luckily TM14 got said straight away that I'll be on the next show, which is obviously this one, October the 14th. So lucky all my people who did buy tickets, their ticket was still valid for this show. So there was not really hassle. It was just more bit gutting for me doing all the training and for something like that to happen, which I know it has happened, but for me to see it, I just couldn't believe it.
I love to hear it. And it's not a good thing. Well, it's something that we don't usually see in boxing. Well, we don't see. We've seen it 4 days out. We've seen Conor Ben, Chris Eubank Jr. We see very last minute replacements or fight cancellation. We saw most recently of Anthony Joshua and Robert Helenius on 7 days' notice. But on the actual day, few hours before the fight, what played more into your mind? The fact that the mental side or the physical side, in the sense that the hard training, the hard work, losing away, or was it more that you were more I wouldn't say upset. Yeah, I would say what would you feel more? Were you distraught? Were you upset? Was it your fans? What made you more? Was it the mental side or the physical side that got you more?
It was definitely the mental side, just because I ain't boxed in over a year now, just because of setbacks, and this was just another one. So like as an amateur, I've got injured, then stuff have happened. So now I've turned pro. I thought fresh start, and I thought pro debut was a special one. And for that to happen, I was just heartbroken. And to tell everyone that the fight's off on the night, people like it's just a mad one to sort of say. But funny enough, it happened to my brother as well. He had his hands wrapped. Yeah, he had his hands wrapped. So I don't know which one's worse. They're obviously both as bad as each other, but I'm sure he had his hands wrapped and his fight got cancelled. So it's happened to both of us.
Wow. Would I call it a coincidence or would I call it fate?
Oh no.
So now moving on to October the 14th, do you feel like, as you said, you've been out the ring for a year, do you feel this is long overdue, or do you think it's come at the right time?
Well, obviously it's overdue, as I was meant to be on September the 2nd, but I know what I'm capable of. I've had a good amateur career, probably a high amateur career, being on Team GB and that. So everything will just keep me in good stead in the pro game. No, I'm more than ready for next week.
And one thing I wanted to ask you just before we move on to the next fight, how did you feel being there as a fan? Because obviously you played out to make your pro debut on the night. So how did it feel watching everyone else fight and another few guys having their pro debuts? Did you feel, I wouldn't say envious, but how does it make you feel when you're on the sidelines watching? Does it make you eager to get in there, or do you not feel anything at all?
Yeah, like that night, obviously, I didn't. I'll be totally honest, I didn't want to be there, but my teammate Rob Caswell, who's fighting next week as well for the Southern area, he was boxing that night, so I obviously stayed for him. And then they done an announcement after. But to be honest, I didn't want to be there. It's the last place I wanted. I was just gutted for myself. So, but obviously, I got to cheer on Rob. So
I can only empathize and feel sympathy for you. Now, before we move on to your fight, you mentioned out there Robert Castle. How's he been looking in training camp? And do you think he becomes the new Southern Area champion on October the 14th?
yeah, definitely. He's a hard worker. He's dedicated to the sport. So I don't see why he shouldn't be the new Southern Area champ next week. He's put all the hard work in, and he's definitely looking good. But he's looked good in the last one, this one. So not much has changed. Just he's upped it obviously a bit more.
And talking about you now, October the 14th, one thing I asked Tommy Murphy, and it makes sense because Tommy Fury, Tommy Murphy, but why should fans be tuning into that night, that fight on the night, instead of KSI and Tommy Fury?
Well, it's professional boxing for one. That's obviously, but obviously fair play to him. But well, the whole show is going to be good. But I feel like I'm going to be the start of something special.
I love to hear it. And do you know where you are on the bill, or is that not announced yet?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I know there's obviously two title fights, and then there's a 50. So it's actually a really good show, to be fair. But God knows when I'm on.
And does that ever play into your mind? Because amateurs, I've spoken to many of them, and they've fought late, they fought early, they've even fought several times within a space of a week. So, does it play into your mind, waiting in the locker rooms, waiting to get out, or does it not play into factor when you're out on the night?
No, I don't think it affects me. I've done I'm experienced enough to wait about, be on early, be on really late. Like I've boxed all over the country, so none of that sort of affects me.
And I wanted to ask you that: do you know your opponent on the night, or not really?
Yeah, the opponent's confirmed. Obviously, I don't know much about him, but yeah, he's confirmed and that. So it's a good test for my debut anyway.
And how do you find it fighting these journeymen? Because they call them journeymen, but majority when you find these South American guys and different guys, wherever they come from, they come to scrap, they come to fight. So how are you going to showcase what you're able to do on the night, especially if there's someone that's in there? Is it a 4-rounder, by the way?
Yeah, 4-rounder, yeah.
How are you going to showcase your skills when there's someone that's just there to get in and get out, in terms of they're just going to hold on for the 4 rounds? Or how do you fight against a journeyman?
Well, obviously, I'm just gonna enjoy the debut as much as I can, take it all in. But when I'm in there, nothing really changes. I'm not gonna go crazy or that. I'm just gonna take my time, take my shots, and whatever happens, happens. But I'll be confident.
And just before we get back onto the boxing in a moment, you can see wearing it too. You're a proud West Ham fan. So
Yeah.
I want to ask you, just before I go on to the boxing side again, where did it come from to become a West Ham fan? Is it a father thing? Where did it come from?
Yeah, well, my dad's obviously a big West Ham fan, so there was no escaping West Ham. I've been West Ham all my life, and all my family are. So that's where it's come from. My dad, but everyone in my family is West Ham because of it.
I love to hear it, but I would be ashamed not to ask. What did you prefer, Upton Park or the London Stadium?
Uh, but I'm a season ticket at both. And I still am a season ticket now. Obviously Upton Park, the atmosphere was a lot better, but times change. I think everything's changing in football now, so it was time that we moved on. So Upton Park, I'd say, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, honestly, honestly, I've never cried so much in my life, and I admit that there. When we left Upton Park, I remember that last day against Man United, it didn't feel
Yeah,
real, and because now going to the Peacock shows at Canning Town, a piece of my heart feels missing because I'm going past on a 147 bus to Canning Town, and I'm just going past Upton Park, and it's no longer there. Because I remember as soon as the bus returned, you could see the back end of the Sir Trevor Brooking stand, I believe it was. You could see the flag
yeah,
on the top, and you can't see that anymore. So it does break my heart. It does feel a little bit empty going past there. But as you say, I loved Upton Park, and Upton Park was full of memories, amazing atmosphere. We had to move on as a club. And you know what? At the other sense, we would not have had European football for it, which we are
yeah,
competing in tonight.
definitely.
So another question there is, how did you feel when West Ham won the way for Europa Conference League?
Well, luckily I was there. I was there to see West Ham lift the trophy. So, I'd done the quarter final. We've gone all over Europe, me, my dad, and my brother. So it was a pretty special moment when we was out in Prague and we see
Uh,
West Ham lift it. It was very good night. No, it was just an unbelievable night out in Prague.
and did you shed any tears?
Nah, I didn't shed any tears, but I was happy anyway.
And would you say, apart, put the boxing aside, was that one of the happiest moments of your life?
Yeah, definitely. I think, well, obviously I've got next week, but so far that was probably one of the best nights of my life anyway.
And talking about this season, do you think we go on to win the way for Europa League, or is it too big a ask?
I don't see why we can't. We're obviously unbeaten in Europe as well. We're
Mm.
playing again tonight. We won the other week, so yeah, I don't see why we can't anyway. We got to the semi-finals last time in Europe, then we went on to win the conference. So I think Moyes is the man to do it.
100%. And do you think we miss Rice, or do you think James Ward-Prowse, Kudos, Mavropanos, Alvarez are great replacements?
Yeah, I think they're good replacements. Everyone knew Declan Rice was going to leave. Like anyone who's bitter over it, I think
Mm.
are just a bit clueless because Declan Rice, West Ham's West Ham.
Yeah.
Like I don't, he weren't going to get Champions League with West Ham in his career, so I think he had to move on. And I think wish him all the best. And the new people we've got in now, James Ward-Prowse and that, I think they're just as well. They're playing unbelievable, so we can't really moan there.
Yeah, 100%. I'm grateful for what Rice has done for our club. And you could kind of see it happening. Obviously, the season before when we lost to Frankfurt in the semi-finals, we were debating, is he going to go after that year? He stayed another year. He went out on the best terms possible, winning a
Yeah,
European
exactly.
trophy for West Ham. And another thing I want to say there, James Ward-Prowse, he's always been one of my favourite players. So finally see him in a claret and blue shirt, it's amazing because apart from Lionel Messi and Ronaldo, at least in the Premier League, he's one of the best free kick takers he's definitely the best free kick taker in the Premier League, but in the world, we can try to argue
Yeah,
it now as a West Ham fan.
yeah. No, James Ward-Prowse is a quality player, so it's a good replacement, obviously from Rice. So brilliant, really.
And we got him for a good price, 30 million instead of the 60 that I was been asking for at the start.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, how much we sold Declan Rice for. So
Yeah,
hopefully, we can do more things.
100%. Now, going back onto the boxing, where did the desire come from for JP Omeara to become a professional boxer? And was it a family thing? Obviously, you mentioned your brother there. Talk a little bit about your brother. And was it something that came down from the family, or was it something that just came out of the moment to say, you know what, I want to pick up these pair of boxing gloves and one day I want to become a world champion?
Yeah, so it's sort of in the family where my dad was a boxer, my cousin Steve, he was a boxer, and obviously my brother was a boxer as well. But funny enough, when I first walked into a gym, it was my mum who took me. So people think my dad would have took me, but it was my mum who took me first down to a boxing gym, and that's where it sort of started really. My dad didn't think much of it because I was a good footballer and that. So growing up as a kid, obviously the main goal is obviously everyone wants to be a footballer. So was doing a bit of both at the same time, and then I sort of chose boxing over football, and that's where it kicked on really.
I love to hear it. And I think it's every kid's dream, especially born and raised in the UK, to become a professional footballer. Like, there's not a kid in the UK that doesn't become a footballer, but boxing, second option. Another thing I wanted to ask you there, that is such a great story because we see the current UFC welterweight champion, Leon Edwards. His mom was the reason he became, and not only became the UFC champion, but took him into the gym. So how special is that for your mom to do that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know why she took me to the boxing gym because when I think it was just more I was too hyper in that. But yeah, she first took me and well, my whole family they obviously support me, but I can't thank my mum and dad enough for what they do for me throughout my career.
I love to hear it. And talk a little bit about your father and your brother. Is your brother amateur or pro?
He's packed it in now, but he was obviously an amateur, and then he turned pro with Adam Martin as well, and then he packed in.
And talk a little bit about yourself, obviously going on to the 14th, going to make your professional debut. What was your amateur record and what were your amateur achievements?
So as an amateur, I had around 70 odd fights. Won around, I'd say, 50 odd. So I've had a good amateur career. Got to the ABA finals and that, boxed for England. Then I got on GB, won a few golds out for GB, but then I just couldn't make 57 kilo, which is featherweight anymore, and they've done away with 60 kilo. So the next weight above was 63 and a half. So that's the reason I left, and that's where obviously I've turned pro. Now I'm super feather.
And you talk about super featherweight. What do you think about the super featherweight division in the United Kingdom and in the world?
Yeah, it's a really good division. Obviously got good domestic fights, but I'm only just starting out, so give me a few fights and then we'll start looking at Southern area English and that. Well, Rob's taking the Southern area next week, so I've got to wait for that first.
And obviously, I probably know the answer for this, but you would never entertain a fight with a stablemate, would you?
Nah, no way. Rob's a good friend of mine. We're gym mates. There's no way.
Yeah, I love to hear it. And it just goes to show, similar to Aljamain Sterling and Merab Davishvili in the UFC in the bantamweight division, that you put friendship and brotherhood in front of money and tangible objects. And God willing, that does come in the future, many, many titles. So I want to ask you there, why do you fight and what is the reason you fight for? Is it for yourself? Is it for your family? Is it to create a legacy? Why do you fight?
I do it because I love it. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Like, I think if you don't enjoy something, you're not going to put 100% in. So I do it because I love it. Yeah, just I love it really. That's what pushes me on anyway. Just making everyone proud, like the people that come to support me. Like, I didn't realize how many tickets I would sell for my pro debut. Also, I knew I would sell a few because I've got a big family and that, but I sold over 300 tickets. So to have that support and belief, like people believe in me, that's what sort of pushes me on.
And how many tickets did you sell for the last round? How many do you expect to have on the 14th?
Well, so the people on the last show, their ticket's still valid this show. So it's basically just transferred over. And then this show, I've sold a few more. But yeah, there'll be quite a few at the York Hall that night. Over 300, I'd say.
I love to hear it. And you're a West Ham fan, West Ham boy in East London, taking over York Hall. How special is that for you?
Yeah, it should be a good night. I'm from West London, Ealing, so there'll be quite a few coming over from West London as well. But yeah, it should be a special night.
And you mentioned out there, Ealing. Why is that so important for you to represent your hometown and your home city?
Well, it's just the people that support me. Everyone, like I've got over 300 people. Obviously, not everyone's from Ealing, but mainly from Ealing, coming to support me, and all the local people know who I am. So it's just good to get that backing from them.
So, JP, I wanted to ask you, who is your biggest inspiration and motivation in this world? When times get dark, when times get tough, who is that one person or few people that keep you going in life?
I'd say probably my family, mainly my mum and dad, just because I know how much they do for me. From being a kid, like amateur boxer, my dad taking me all over the gyms in London for sparring and that. And then my mum doing everything, like my lunch, like my dinners when I'm going to spar, just little things like that. Yeah, I'd say my mum and dad.
I love to hear that. And another thing I wanted to ask you there, what are you looking to achieve in boxing and what are your goals in boxing?
Yeah, so everyone says it, but I do really believe I will become world champion in the future. But obviously, I want to go sort of the traditional route where I sort of earn my sort of stripes, where I go through Southern area, English, definitely win the British, just have good domestic fights, and then obviously take it to the world.
And you mentioned that there, we see Chris Billam-Smith do it in Bournemouth. We see Tony Bellew do it at Goodison Park. Would the dream, obviously, it probably would have been Upton Park, but would the dream be to sell out the London Stadium one day?
Yeah, definitely. When I was there that night, when I see Kevin Mitchell do it, obviously, unfortunately, he lost that night against Casidas. But when I see him walk out at Upton Park, I thought that's definitely something I want to do. Obviously, we've left, but definitely at the Olympic Stadium, that would be a big one.
I love here, and they get about 70,000, 75,000 fans because you can sell out the ground as well, like the floor on the pitch. So it'd be amazing, and that would be the dream come true because West Ham fans are taking over boxing. Jack Daly, George Liddard, Joel Kadua, Conor Benn, Sonny Hardy. The list goes on.
Yeah, there's a few good, few West Ham fans.
John Hedges,
there, so.
Finley James.
Yeah, there's a good few of us out there.
I love to hear it, and West Ham fans are taking over boxing. So I wanted to ask you here, and I'm pretty sure I probably know the answer to one of them. What is the highest of highs and lowest of lows in boxing, and what's your highest of highs and lowest of lows in life?
The highest in boxing, I'd say, is probably representing my country, and obviously winning gold when singing the national anthem. That was probably my highest, like, special moment. And the lowest is either well, obviously I thought I won, but losing the ABA finals, or there was a time in Kazakhstan where I just training just before I left GB, where I was struggling to make weight, and that was a low point. So probably them two.
100%, and it is a hard thing, especially the amateurs, and we hear it now still to this day. If you're going to go into the amateurs, you're going to have to be expected to not only getting robbed, but the weight cut's a different story, and that is hard. But we see now, do you think it's different that the pro game, there's only 3 judges or there's 1 judge? Because at least in the early level of your career, there's only 1 judge that scores a belt, and there's only 3 when you go to a latter stage. Where the amateurs, there's 5. Do you find that too much of a difference, or does that not play into your mind?
That wouldn't play into my mind. Obviously, I just got to do what I got to do, like just focus on myself. I'm not worried about the people outside the ring. Obviously, I know they're important, but as long as I do my thing, I shouldn't have any problems.
And on October the 14th, if we could get a little spoiler here, you don't have to give it away, but what is going to be your ring walk on the night?
Do you know what? Funny enough, everyone asks me this, but I haven't got a clue. Like, people think I'm winding them up, trying to like make it a thing, but I don't know yet. So I should think of something soon. There's a few ideas, but I haven't got one yet.
And another thing, obviously, I'll ask you again once we finish celebrating, you get the win, and I'll get you for a post-fight interview in the arena. But what is going to be your post-fight meal?
Probably a 5 guys.
Ooh, nice. Let's hope there's one around the area that's open. But you're on a bit earlier, so there should definitely be one open. Oh, also, another question is, depending, obviously you've got Rob on their co-main event, I believe it is. Do you
Yeah.
ever, depending where you are on the card, depending where you are on the card, do you ever stay and watch the later fights, or do you just prefer to go out, celebrate with your fans, and just go home?
I'm definitely going to be watching Rob, so I will be staying to watch Rob. But then probably after Rob's, I'll shoot off if he's not the last fight. I was just going to go out celebrating with everyone else.
And a question I probably should have asked you at the beginning is, who are your idols and inspirations in boxing growing up as a kid, and who are your favorites to watch right now?
Probably growing up as a kid was obviously when I was watching Kevin Mitchell, because obviously he was West Ham, but main one as well, Ricky Hatton. So they were the two that I used to sort of watch. But now I'll sort of look at Lemonchenko, Gervonta Davis, Josh Taylor. They're sort of the ones I like watching.
You mentioned out there, Gervonta Davis is going to fight Regis Prograis for the super lightweight titles, I believe it is. Who do you have winning that fight?
Gervonta Davis, definitely. He's just a powerhouse. So, yeah, definitely Gervonta.
I love to hear. And JP, just for the fans that don't know, what does JP stand for?
John Patrick. I've got quite an Irish name. It's John Patrick Joseph Omeara. So I've got a pretty Irish name, I was saying. It's a proper Irish name, that is.
I love to hear it. So, JP, I wanted to ask you, what makes you unique inside the boxing ring, and what makes your style different to other people? What can fans expect from you?
I think I'm, obviously I'm southpaw, but I think I'm very technical. I can box, I can fight if I need to. But yeah, I'm a very technical southpaw. Smart thinking.
And southpaws are causing a lot of problems in not only the British scene, but the world scene. So what is it about southpaws? What makes you guys different?
Well, we're just better than the Orthodox, I reckon.
I love to hear it. Another thing I wanted to ask you there is, what has boxing taught you most in life, and what have you learned most from boxing? Whether it be the physical side in terms of skill-wise or mental side, what has boxing taught you most in life?
I'll definitely say discipline. Like when you first walk into a gym, just the rules and everything. You listen to someone. I feel like just discipline in general, and then you sort of brings you up in life as well.
I love to hear it. And another thing, going a bit different now, moving away from boxing, what makes JP Omeara unique as a person, and what do you like to do in your spare time? What unique hobbies do you have?
To be honest, I actually just train not obviously boxing all the time, but I like training. When I can, when I'm not in camp, I still play football. So yeah, just the usual really.
I love to hear it. And another thing I want to ask there, 3 in 1, you can either go quick fire or take your time on it. What is your favorite film of all time? What's your favorite TV series of all time? And what's your favorite song/genre of music?
Cool. Put me on the spot here. Favorite film, I'll go. Probably The Business. TV series, I'll go Prison Break. And music, just probably old school music, really. Like listening to smooth radio.
Loves to hear it. So I wanted to ask you there, we obviously did speak about West Ham before, and the dream is to sell out the London Stadium. But if there's one location in the world, whether it be MSG, whether it be a Vegas fight, whether it be, let's say, Paris, going to Madrid or Milan, where's your one location that you'd love to headline a main event yourself?
Obviously, like you said, other than West Ham, but I definitely want to fight out in America, whether it's Las Vegas or New York, Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, MSG is a dream, the mecca of boxing, and technically, well, the York Court is a mecca of British boxing, so you're starting it off there. Another thing I wanted to ask you, hypothetically speaking, obviously, maybe you can make it a reality. We see Floyd Mayweather doing these exhibitions. Who is your dream matchup? If you could bring a fighter out of retirement, a current fighter, or an MMA guy or a celebrity, who's your dream matchup that you'd love to face one day?
Well, it depends what I'm after, but if it's for the money, I'll definitely say Floyd Mayweather. But if you said to share a ring with, I'd probably say Lomachenko because I'll probably watch him the most, and I'd just love to learn off him.
I love to hear that, and that would be a dream come true. And two southpaws going out would be amazing. JP, I wanted to ask you, what is your one motivational message to the people, whether it be boxing, whether it be MMA, whether it be football, whether it be getting into any sort of sport, to block out the outside noise, block out the haters, block out the negativity, and follow and pursue their dreams? What's your one piece of advice?
Just keep going, like even when it gets tough. Because obviously, no matter what you do, it's going to get tough. So just keep going, keep grinding, and it will definitely pay off.
I love to hear it. And what can fans expect from you on the 14th of October at the famous York Hall Arena? Obviously, you making your professional debut. So one last time, just before I let you go, how does it feel to finally make your professional debuts? Fingers crossed, touch wood, that nothing bad goes wrong. How does it feel to make your professional debut? And what is your message to your fans that will be coming out and your worldwide fans? And what can fans expect on the night?
Yeah, it's going to be a special night, October the 14th. Obviously, a long time coming, not making my debut on the 2nd of September. So it's going to definitely be worth the wait, and a big performance is coming. And West London are taking over.
West London are taking over in East London. I love it. And I just wanted to ask you there, do you ever envision knockout in the fight, or do you just look to play out stylistically?
Nah, I just play it how it goes. I know what I can do, so as long as I can perform on the night, there should be a good performance.
And just before I let you go, where can fans find you on social media?
My Instagram's at JP99Omeara, and my Facebook's JP Omeara.
Love to hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, JP Omeara ahead of his professional debut. As I said one more time, touch wood, God willing, 1-0 on the night. No, unless there's an earthquake, then nothing's going to go wrong on the night.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see you win on the night, and we'll get a great post-fight interview. God bless you, brother. And West Ham obviously taking over York Hall again.
Man. Go subscribe to Anything Blows.